from kind of being touched very deeply to a little bit of terror.
In the weeks after the verdict, reality of the judgment started to sink into daily life for all concerned. Kody was subjected to a constant juggling act, dealing with the ramifications of the $6.5 million settlement while trying to hold on to what was left of his public reputation. Every day was filled with new challenges: appointments with money managers to reorganize his wealth, sessions with attorneys to enforce compliance with court rulings, and indoor meetings with family members to try reconciliation, or at least harmonious coexistence. The financial aspect, while overwhelming, was just one part of the greater transformation the judgment called for. Public opinion had undergone a complete transformation. For years, Kody had been presented as a firm, occasionally infallible patriarch, a man whose power both in the family and the public eye appeared unassailable. Reality television had served to amplify the impression, offering a constructed picture of events intended to be dramatic, not necessarily accurate. With the judgment, however, that tightly constructed image shattered. Interviews, posts on social media, and commentaries on the internet all indicated a new story. One where justice and accountability trumped staged appearances. Kody's image, once built on control and authority, needed renegotiation. Christine and Janelle set out with urgency and purpose. The $6.5 million payout, remarkable in itself, marked more than cash. It marked validation and recognition of decades of turmoil. Both women set about re-imaging their lives with purpose, creating financial security, personal boundaries, and reinvigorated sense of self-agency. Their strategy was characterized as both strategic and emotive by their friends and allies as they navigated and juggled the logistics of legal and financial issues with the process of healing and self-empowerment. Their resilience was a public focus, encouraging others to examine how justice, self-worth, and personal boundaries collide in difficult situations. Relationships within the family continued to change in multifaceted ways. Children and other members of the family worked through the complicated matter of balancing love. For Kody, with remembering harm done, family dynamics experts stressed that these negotiations were not merely a matter of forgiveness or reconciliation, but of building sustainable frameworks for trust, communication, and accountability. Mediation sessions, family counseling, and purposeful communication became part and parcel of ensuring a working dynamic, even in the face of residual tension. Onlookers described how the family's desire to pursue these processes indicated an overall investment in long-term health and not short-term resolution. Financial planners stressed the settlement needed controlled asset management. Kody's funds, erstwhile spread across various avenues and typically handled in secrecy, needed transparent documentation, auditing, and readjustment. Non-adherence to the judgment may attract further legal repercussions, underlining the need for strict financial planning. For Christine and Janelle, the settlement gave them the means to protect their futures, invest in private ventures, and create economic security previously limited by household dynamics. The financial reorganization thus had both practical and symbolic significance, reframing power and accountability relationships within the family. The media again played a focal point in framing public awareness of the case. Coverage provided in-depth examination of courtroom hearings, family members and experts' interviews, and investigative reports on the wider ramifications for reality television families. Analysts underlined the disparity between constructed media representation and the real lives unveiled in court, pinpointing the ethical obligation of content creators not to exploit or misrepresent personal relationships for entertainment purposes. Social media proliferated the debate as viral videos, comment streams, and opinion columns fueled continued public discussion. Psychologists and sociologists pointed out that the case contained valuable lessons on power, control, and emotional strength. Kody's actions, as uncovered in court, demonstrated insidious exercises of manipulation and control that can become ingrained over time, even go unnoticed or normalized in family dynamics. The ruling demonstrated that accountability can be achieved even when power relations seem entrenched, presenting a template for similar challenges to be overcome in other families or organizational settings. For Christine and Janelle, the ruling vindicated their experience, affirming the value of advocacy, tenacity, and strategic involvement when faced with systemic imbalances. Kody's efforts at shaping public opinion were rewarded in part, while a minority of loyal followers maintained their allegiance, pointing to previous successes or individual loyalty. Most public opinion moved toward questioning and criticism. Observers noted that building trust and credibility after such a high-profile court decision takes more than words or appearances. It takes consistent, verifiable changes in behavior, openness, and accountability. The disparity between earlier media depictions and present circumstances generated a narrative conflict that had been hard to reconcile. Both for the public and for Kody, emotional dynamics within the family continued to be multifaceted. Anger, relief, sadness, and hope existed together, echoing the complicated interrelation between private experience and public revelation. Experts pointed out that recovery in such situations is not linear, with advances frequently followed by setbacks, obstacles, or intensified tensions. For children and the extended family, absorption of what had occurred involved navigating loyalty, comprehension, and individual boundaries. Counseling, peer counseling, and formalized dialogue were essential in establishing a structure that enabled family members to communicate constructively yet preserve emotional health. Scholars of law pointed out that the case had the potential to make legal precedent within family law, specifically with regards to financial responsibility and emotional damage. The ruling demonstrated that courts were prepared to accept not just quantifiable economic loss, but also the psychological and relational effects of controlling or manipulative behavior. This enlarged understanding of harm increases the extent of legal liability and offers a possible template for other cases dealing with complicated family relationships, power dynamics, and financial conflicts. As months went by, Kody's empire, what had been an icon of popularity and influence in the eyes of the public, was subject to a gradual evolution. Although the television brand and public image remained intact, the underlying organization was compelled to evolve according to changed realities of accountability and fiscal transparency. Analysts estimated that whether the empire would endure long-term would be based on how it would balance entertainment goals with ethical, legal, and relational responsibilities. The verdict reminded everyone that unbridled power, especially when accompanied by public exposure, is replete with risks and obligations. Post-verdict measures by Christine and Janelle involved setting firm legal safeguards, undertaking independent financial pursuits, and reaffirming individual boundaries among family relationships. These actions were not reactive but proactive to help foster sustainable autonomy, resilience, and individual development. Their strategy focused on preparation, planning, and self-advocacy in maneuvering through challenging family and financial situations. Writers observed that they were successful in these situations and presented a model of useful insight for others who are dealing with similar circumstances, with the overlap between personal agency and system accountability. The media continued to report the changing story, such as interviews with specialists, retrospectives on what had happened before, and discussion of the wider implications for public opinion, family law, and reality television ethics. Documentaries and feature pieces delved into the psychological, monetary, and relational aspects of the case, giving the public rich understanding and context. Public interest persisted, drawn from a combination of interest in the people involved and interest in the societal lessons hidden in the story. Kody's private introspection was more and more called for as he faced the repercussions of his choices. Private sources mentioned instances of self-reflection, attempts at reconciliation, and acknowledgement of patterns that led to the legal and interpersonal consequences. Although the journey towards true accountability continued to be tricky, Such introspections were a sign that there was an openness to confront harsh realities, a step towards rebuilding trust, credibility, and personal development. In the end, Kody's empire and the $6.5 million verdict point to the convergence of choice, public opinion, and legal responsibility. The case shows that even celebrities are held to account when behavior inflicts damage, whether monetary, emotional, or social. For Christine and Janelle, the outcome gave both vindication and a doorway to opportunity, showing the strength of perseverance, planning, and representation in working through complicated family and legal scenarios. The wider lessons apply beyond celebrity culture, with relevance to families, organizations, and communities. Some of the themes that emerge are the value of ethical leadership, open communication, setting boundaries, and remaining strong in the face of challenge. The case highlights that justice, though sometimes delayed or long in coming, can be achieved and is a catalyst for development, responsibility, and constructive change. As the story reaches its end, it becomes apparent that Kody's empire has been structurally and reputationally changed forever. The court ruling is a turning point, but the path ahead entails introspection, family healing, and public responsibility. Christine and Janelle's strength is a testament to the power of advocacy and agency to transform lives, and Kody's experience is a warning against the dangers of unaccountable authority and the value of ethical, responsible leadership. The tale, though based in the details of a very public legal case, speaks on universal terms. It underscores the timeless use of fairness, accountability, and integrity, demonstrating that even in the presence of wealth, celebrity, and power, human behavior has consequences. At its core, the epic of Kody's empire, its fall, and the resultant legal decision presents an exhaustive, nuanced examination of accountability, strength, and the redemptive power of justice in both personal and public life.